plus minus switches to change the character. This is if you don't have a keyboard available. And I'll store it on button 4. Once you finish recording your presets, you can press the record button to exit. We recorded presets on page 1 of the top row. These are our color presets. To record Gobo, focus, or effect presets, you would take the same actions to record all those. Show Designer 2 allows you to record up to 1,152 chases and also provides 48 pre-recorded chases referred to as factory chases. A chase is a sequence of steps that create motion or quick repetitive changes on stage. Each chase step is a recording of selected channel levels and/or presets. The steps are then played back in a continuous loop at a pre-programmed chase speed. Unlike scenes, chases do not affect the entire stage, but only the channels that you include in the chase. This allows you to chase things such as colors, gobos, or beam positions. You can then run as many as 8 chases at the same time, allowing you to combine them into one scene. It is important to note that when recording a chase, you should only adjust the channels that you want included into the chase. For example, if you want to record a 2-step pan cross chase, then you should only adjust the pan channel and nothing else. You have to open the shutter and dimmer before getting into the record chase mode so that you can view the beam positions. If you want the shutter and dimmer included into that chase, then you will adjust those channels after engaging the record chase mode. To record a chase, press the record button, followed by the chase button. Both LEDs should be flashing at this time. The display will show you the current chase step, the speed setting status, the fade setting status, and the speed lock status. The page display will show you the current active chase page. Next, press the fixture button and select the fixtures that you want included into the chase. I'll select fixtures 1, 2, 3, and 4 using the 1 through 48 number buttons. Then deselect the fixture button. Any adjustments made from this point forward will be recorded into your chase, so be careful not to touch any channel faders that you do not want included. I'll bank down to open my shutter and dimmer. I'll then use the joystick to position my beam for my first desired chase step. Once that's set, I'll press enter. Our chase step will advance by 1 in the display. I'll once again use the joystick to set my second step. Then once again press enter. Your chase step will once again advance by 1. I'll adjust my joystick for my third position. Then press enter. I'll once again use the joystick to adjust to my fourth position. And this is real important. You do not press enter after setting your final chase step. Pressing enter will add an empty chase step. Next, use data wheel 2 to set your speed setting. This will be your default chase speed. Adjust data wheel 3 if you wish to incorporate a fade time between chase steps. This will be your default fade setting. Your speed lock setting allows the audio and beat to trigger chase steps. If you wish to turn this function off, adjust data wheel number 4 so that it reads no beat under the speed lock setting. This disengages the audio and beat from the chase. For now, I'll set it to allow beat as I do want the audio and beat to affect my chase. I can also name the chase by pressing the right cursor key so that the cursor moves past the speed lock setting and into our chase name setting. You can then use the plus minus no keys to change the characters or the data wheel to change the characters, and the right arrow button to move your cursor over one. As I've connected an external keyboard, I'll use the keyboard to name my chase. I'll name this Square Chase. Once you've entered the name, you can then store it to one of the 48 number buttons. I'll simply select one of them and that chase has been stored. To exit, press the record button. To record a chase using the presets, press your fixture button and select the fixtures that you want to record the chase for. You will first have to record presets for the selected fixtures. Open the shutter and dimmer using the 8-channel faders or the 4 data wheels. I'll bank down. I'll then open the dimmer and shutter. I'll adjust my beam position by using the joystick. I can now visibly see what I'm doing. To record the chase, press record, then chase so that both LEDs are flashing. Next, press the preset button. Its LED will come on solid. Use the up-down page buttons to scroll to the page that contains the presets for your selected fixtures. As I previously recorded color presets on the top row, I'm going to do a color chase. Selecting preset 3 activates my orange preset, which I can then enter into memory. I'll then select preset 4, which I can then enter it into memory. I'll select preset 7 and enter it into memory. I'll select one last preset. This last step is very important. Do not press enter. The next thing you want to do is press the preset button to deactivate the presets. You can then use the speed setting to adjust your color chase, the fade setting to adjust the crossfade in your color chase, and set your speed lock setting. Press the right arrow button to move your cursor past the speed lock setting to your chase name setting. You can then use the plus, yes, minus, no keys to change the characters or data wheel 1 and 2. Press the right arrow button to move your cursor over, in which case you can then use the wheels or the plus and minus buttons to adjust the characters. I've connected an external keyboard, so I'm going to use an external keyboard to name my chase. I'll name my chase the 4-color chase. I can then save my chase on any of the 48 buttons. However, if you have an LED lit on a button, this indicates that there is already a chase stored there. So unless you want to record over it, select one that does not have a lit LED. You can also use the up and down buttons to scroll between chase pages. I'll select the next available chase button. Our chase will then have been stored. To exit, press the record button. To play back a chase or group of chases, press the chase button. You can then play back up to 8 chases at one time. As we recorded chase number 1, which is our square chase, it will begin to run immediately at its preset speed of 110 BPMs and a 60% fade. We can adjust these settings at any time using the data wheels below the display. We can select another chase which incorporates different channels. As you can see here, now our color chase and our square chase are running together. At this point in time, we can use data wheel 3 to adjust the speed for the color chase. And data wheel 4 to adjust the fade time between chase steps. You can use data wheel 1 or 2 to bounce back between all selected chases. Currently I have 2 chases running, so using data wheel 1 got me back to square chase, and I can go up to my 4 color chase. This allows you to reuse the same chase in different scenes at different speeds. Remember, you can run up to 8 chases simultaneously. If a new chase is selected that completely overrides one that is running, the overridden chase will automatically be turned off. To play back factory chases, you'll first have to select the Fixture button and select the fixtures that you wish to have affected by the factory chases. Factory chases only move pan and tilt channels. No other channels are included. So we will open our dimmer and shutter. Mine are on channels 15 and 16. You'll have to refer to your DMX chart to see where your shutter and dimmers are. Next, press the Chase button. If you're not already on the FC page, which stands for Factory Chase, you can use the up and down arrow buttons to scroll there. Once you're there, you can use the 48 number switches to select factory chases. Most of these chases are circles and figure eights. Using data wheel 3 and 4, you can adjust the speed and fade at which these factory chases run at any time. However, you cannot permanently edit any of the factory chases. You can select the preset button and incorporate a color preset along with the Gobo preset to create a chase that you desire. You can then store this chase as a scene. To do this, press the record button followed by the scene button, so both LEDs are flashing. Your display will then ask you for a scene name and a fade time. You can use the right and left buttons to move your cursor over, then use the data wheel or the plus and minus keys to change the characters. I have an external keyboard connected to the rear of the Show Designer 2, so I will name it this way. I can then use data wheel 3 to add a fade time for this scene. If you wish to incorporate no crossfade, leave it at 0. Then use the up and down page buttons to select your desired scene page. There are currently no scenes recorded as indicated by the LEDs not being lit. We'll store our scene at button number 1. The scene has been recorded as indicated with the lit LED. We can then press and hold the blackout button for 2 seconds to clear the edit buffer. This allows us now to recall that scene as we desire. Then press the black button or the same scene number to disengage the scene. To play back a chase using the beat button, press the chase button, then select the chase that you wish to play back. By tapping the beat button at the tempo which you want the chase to run, will trigger your chase steps to run at the tempo at which you tap the beat button. An LED on the beat button indicates the chase tempo. To deactivate the beat button, press and hold it for 2 seconds, then release. The chase will then begin to run at its default chase speeds. To record a static scene, press the Fixture button, then select the fixtures that you wish to include into your static scene. Next, use your channel faders or the data wheels to set your scene. I'll use the faders to set my scene. I'll adjust the beam position. Set a color. And a gobo, and I'll add some rotation to it. To record this as a scene, I'll then press the record button followed by the scene button. At this point you can name your scene by using the plus/minus switches or data wheels 1 and 2. These allow you to change the characters. You can then use the right arrow switch and the left arrow switch to move the cursor over. I've connected an external keyboard which will allow me to name the scene a lot faster. I've named my scene Green Scene. I can then use data wheel 3 to add a fade time to it. If you leave it at 0, there will be no fade time. To store the scene, select one of the 48 number switches on the page that you desire to store the scene to. You can use the up-down arrow switches to change between pages. I'll store my scene to button number 2. The scene will then have been recorded. To play back a scene, press the scene button followed by the desired scene that you wish to play back. It will play back immediately. You can then select the Fixture button, select fixtures that are included into that scene, and make adjustments on the fly to record a new scene. I'll adjust my position using my joystick. I'll change the color using my faders. I'll then bank down to my gobo wheel and change the gobo. I can then store this as a new scene on a different scene button by pressing record, scene. I'll then name the scene. I'll once again use my external keyboard. I'll add a fade time to it of 3 seconds, then store it to any of the 48 number buttons. Once again, if you wish to save it on a different page, you can use the up and down page buttons. I've stored it on button number 3, and the scene has then been recorded. You can always toggle back and forth between scenes as desired. Pressing the same scene button deactivates the scene. This is scene solo mode. To play back a scene in solo mode, press the scene button. In our display, it indicates that we are in solo mode. Use the page buttons to select the page for the scene that you wish to play back, and select the scene. I pre-recorded this scene that includes only 2 of my power spots. I pre-recorded a scene on button 5 that includes the other 2 power spots. As you can see, one scene overrode the other. If I want to add 2 scenes together, I can hold the add button down, then select the scene that I wish to add. Both scenes are now playing back at the same time. In add mode, channels that are not part of the new scene will be left in the current positions instead of fading to 0 and any chases that we're running will keep running as long as the channels in the chase are not overridden by the new scene. This method of playback allows channels from previous scenes to track through to the next scene as long as the new scene doesn't change those channels. You can permanently turn on the add mode by deselecting the scene button, holding add, then selecting the scene button. Our display now tells us that we are in scene add mode. Scenes will always pile on or stack on top of each other now when selected. To record a scene using the presets that we recorded earlier, press the Fixture button, then select the fixtures that you recorded the presets for. I'll open the shutter, as I did not include the shutter or dimmer as part of my presets. I'll then press the preset button, and I'll select from my rows of presets using the number buttons. My color presets are on the top row, my Gobo presets are on the second row, and I recorded a couple of focus presets on the third row. I'll select button 4 for a light blue preset. I'll select button 17 for a Gobo preset. I can then select a focus preset with the third row. You can store the scene as is or make modifications to it at this time using the channel faders. I'll add rotation to the existing scene. To store this as a scene, press record, scene, then name the scene. I'll use my external keyboard to name it. I named it light blue scene. I can then store it on one of the 48 number switches. I'll select button 7 to store it. You can then manually scroll through Program Scenes. As you can see, the scene was stored including all of our presets and the manual adjustment including Gobo rotation. Pressing the same scene button cause a blackout. To manually playback scenes that you've recorded, press the scene button, then use the up-down arrow buttons to select the page that contains the scenes that you wish to play back. You can then use the number switches to trigger your scenes. You can also preview a scene before it's actually selected by pressing the preview button, then selecting a scene. In the display, it tells us that the scene we're previewing is the aqua scene. If that's the scene that you want to play back, you can press go. If it's a different scene that you wanted, and say it was the red dots, for example, that you wanted, you can then press go at that time for the scene to take precedence. This is where naming your scenes becomes very important. Once again, we'll preview. This is our orange scene. Pressing go for it to play back. You can also manually adjust the fade time for the previewed scene by adjusting data wheel 3. For example, if I want to preview scene 6, which incorporates 0 fade time, I can adjust the data wheel to read 2 seconds of fade time, then press go, in which case when the scene is called up, it now incorporates a 2-second fade time. Another way to play back scenes is by using the Masters button. This now allows us to use the 8-channel faders as scene masters. Using the bank button, we can control scenes 1 through 8 when the top LED is lit. We'll control scenes 9 through 16 when the second LED is lit. Scenes 17 through 24 when the third LED is lit. And scenes 25 through 32 when the fourth LED is lit. I'll bank up to 1 as we only have 7 scenes programmed. As I raise the fader, you'll notice that the scene is being played back in real time. Once I reach the top, the scene will be at its programmed location. Calling up a new scene and bringing down the previous will bring in the new scene and deactivate the previous one. Up to 8 scenes can run simultaneously in this manner. To get to a different page of scenes, use the up-down page buttons. To adjust a factory chase offset, press the Fixture button, then select the fixtures that you wish to include into your factory chase. Open the shutter and dimmer for your fixtures so that you can view the beam. Next, press the Chase button. If you're not already on the factory chase page, use the up-down arrow buttons to get to page FC. We can then use any of the 48 number buttons to select a factory chase. Remembering that we've selected button number 33, we'll now adjust the offset for this factory chase by pressing the menu button, then using the data wheel to get to our Adjust Factory Chases option. Press Enter when you're there. We'll now adjust data wheel 1 to get to chase 33. We can then use data wheel 2 and 3 to adjust our pan. As you can see, the offset is moving as the circle continues to run. This allows us to move the factory chase to an exact location where you need your factory chase to run. Data wheel 3 will adjust our tilt offset. As you can see, as I'm adjusting it, the chase is moving upward. This allows us to set our exact offset and then save this as a scene. To do this, press the Record button, followed by the Scene button. You can now name your scene and add a fade time for the scene by using data wheel 1 and 3. I'll name the scene using my external keyboard. I'll call this the circle scene, and I'll adjust it to 0 fade time. I'll then store the scene on one of the 48 number switches. And that scene has then been recorded. I'll call up another scene and go back to that scene to show you that all settings were stored under that scene number. A show is a sequence or list of up to 255 scenes that are pre-recorded and played back in order at pre-programmed times or played back manually by pressing the Go switch for each scene. Show Designer 2 lets you record up to 24 pages of 48 shows for a total of 1,152 shows. Before recording a show, you must first record the scenes that will be included in the show. To record a show, press the Record button, followed by the Show button. Both LEDs should be flashing at this time. Your LCD should display